I'm Connie Melzer. I'm a student at CMU, and today I'm going to be walking through a lesson on fossils. The standard I'm using is Life Science 4, and that's biological evolution, and the subpart is number 2, which is comparing fossils to each other or to living organisms, and how it reveals features of prehistoric environments and provides information about organisms today. The evidence base will be what fossils tell us about prehistoric environment, and what conclusions can we draw from the similarities and differences. The objectives today will to be able to explain and analyze fossils, to understand how fossils formed, where they came from, and to find solutions and problems related to fossils. I have a lesson plan that includes all the materials and supplies that you would be needing, and I'm going to begin. The first thing we're going to work on is engage. The opening of the lesson would be to have the students get out a piece of paper and draw what they think a fossil looks like. This is kind of interesting. It's fun to see the kiddos, and this is used as a pre-assessment, and they need to use as many details as possible. And then I will ask some questions. How many of you have ever seen this dinosaur in real life? And if not, how do you know what it looks like? Where did they come from? Or where did your thoughts come from? Then I'll play a video from Brain Pop. It's a great website resource, and they have a video on fossils that kind of gets the kids interested, excited, hooked, ready to learn about it. Then we'll read a book called Fossils, and we'll talk about the cover of the book, what the fossil or what the animal is on the book, and notice that there's a fossil of that animal at the bottom of the book. And we'll turn knee to knee partner talk about if they've ever seen a fossil, where have they found the fossil, and then I'll read the book and have questions throughout, saying maybe where did the animal live, what kinds of foods did this animal eat, what happened to the animal when it died. So those are the things we'll question throughout the book, and then we'll move on to explore, and I will pass out real fossils or replications of fossils if we can't find any, and have the students get in groups, their dinosaur groups that we created, and they can explore the fossils, touch it, feel it, talk about it, and then I can ask questions throughout the time, asking, what type of animal do you think your fossil is, and what evidence makes you think that. So just getting the kids ready and excited about fossils and learning, and giving them some time to give some hands-on kind of helps them to be more focused later on in the lesson. We have then a card sequencing group, or card sequencing activity, and they'll have to put the cards in order that they think. How did the fossil, or what came first? Did the fossil start as fossil? Did it start as a live animal? And there's different pictures, and they get to place them in there. Again, it'll be in their dinosaur groups. I gave them a list of different names, and they got to choose the name that they wanted for their group. Then we'll get back together as a whole class and talk about what they discovered and why they discovered it, how it worked. The next part will be explain, and that's when I will read a book, Fossils Tell of Long Ago, and we'll show students the cover again. We'll talk about who the person is that writes the book, which is the author, who the person that draws the pictures, the illustrator, and we're going to talk about this as a nonfiction book, and that'll give some preface to it's a real book, or it's a real story telling us about real things. So I'll probably stop throughout the book, like once page 12, and talk about how the information relates from this book to the other book, Fossils, that we had read. And then we'll ask questions, maybe do you think that all fossils were buried underwater? We'll continue reading, asking questions throughout the book. And then at the end of the book, we'll explain to students that in order to make best guesses about what colors and patterns prehistoric animals were, scientists had to compare them with similar animals from today. And that way, scientists don't really know exactly where they came from, but it gives us an idea. And then we'll go on to elaborate again. And we'll play a fossil game. We'll ask questions, and then I have the game pieces and all that listed in the lesson. We'll hand out templates. read the steps, model the expectations of what they're supposed to be doing during the game, what does it look like, and we'll move on through there. Once the game is done and we complete a data table that's going to give us some information, and we'll discuss those results as a class and explain that there are not a whole lot of fossils because it's really hard based on the different effects that fossils had to survive, to stay in where we could see them today. And also maybe talk about that they have to be preserved in rock, amber, ice, those types of things. And then we'll move on to the evaluate. We'll do fossil rereading, which is part of our close reading strategy. We reread things to make sure we're understanding and to gain more information the second or third time we read it. And we'll talk about a narrative informational book, which covers other content, Common Core standards that we're working towards. And then we'll give each student I found a fossil journal, and animal fossil, the ones that we had looked at earlier, colored pencils, and a scoring rubric so they know where they're at. Then I'll tell the students that the name of their fossils, what they are if they're not labeled already. They'll have one class period to research information about their animal, when it lived, where it lived, the habitat, and I'll have all these bookmarked on the computers that they will be using to research. Another extension, we live in a great area that has a dinosaur museum, and so we could go to that museum as an extension or part of this project, depending on the time and whatnot. And let's see, the books that I've been reading are also based on accelerated reader program. They have levels, so I'm going to encourage the students, because I read them out loud a couple of times in class, that they could take a test. They are required to take tests throughout the week. They have goals that they have to meet, and so this would be across the boards, helping with all the different content areas that we teach. And the evaluation that I would use would be that journal in the end. So to sum it all up, or to finish, we have differentiation strategies that I've listed in the lesson plan. I have cognitive learning styles, physical needs, genders, ELL. Part of this activity too would be our vocabulary interactive science journal, that they have pictures, they have definitions, they have everything they need there, and they have to cut and paste into their journal, and then either, if we don't have pictures, they'll draw the pictures, or I usually have them and they paste them in there. Let's see, accommodations, I would allow for additional time of students if they need it, use of computers, note takers, balanced grouping, all of those things. Our pre-assessment, like I said, will be done in the beginning of the lesson with their pictures and showing what they know. And then formative kind of will be done throughout the lesson. I will be circulating the room through all the activities. The science notebook would be part of that formative assessment. The groups that I've put together, I will look at their work. And then the last part, the summative and the post-assessment, would be I found a fossil journal. So those are all the different things that I would be doing. Thank you so much, and I will be posting this with my lesson plan.